July 2nd, 2017. That's the day that I set my first world record in Run 2, and my storied journey with Flash game speedrunning truly began. As I hopped between games for the next few years, the Run speedrunning scene remained tiny and lacked any real community events. However, things changed for the better after a man named Matthew started speedrunning the game while COVID kept him inside. A few months after joining, he and Rubik's Math, the top two players on the Runner Fast leaderboard, decided to organize a tournament for the category. 6 players signed up, including myself, with seeding determined by personal best. Each matchup was a best of 3, and the tournament was double elimination. I got pulverized by Rubik's Math in the winner's bracket, fought my way through the loser's bracket, and then got decimated again by him in the finals. Still, I was happy with my performance, given that I was 4th on the leaderboard before the tournament and even set a PB during one of my matches. In July 2021, Matthew hosted another Runner Fast tournament, but I didn't participate in that one, mainly because I was busy finishing my main channel video covering Run Series speedrunning. Rubik's Math was again victorious, but Rubik's Math gave him a run for his money. In December 2021, Matthew organized a Skater Fast tournament, which is a category I had a much stronger attachment to, having set the first sub 2 and the first 157 by incorporating the formidable rotationless 23. However, I again didn't participate because I was finishing up a video, and Rubik's Math took home gold. Finally, in summer 2022, Matthew convinced me to join another Runner Fast tournament, even though I was 11th on the leaderboard and extremely washed. I got a small PB in my first game against Norxor, and after winning the match, I decided to practice the rotation saves in levels 12 and 19 before doing actual PB attempts. On my very first serious speedrun attempt of the game in almost 3 years,
No way.
What the fuck? Hello?
Yo!
What
the hell?
I shot up to 4th on the leaderboard. Hamburger Man did not take very kindly to this, as he beat my new PB before sweeping me in the losers semifinals. The next tournament I could make it to was the Skater Fast Run League Summer Showdown in 2024, and I got absolutely rolled, despite qualifying as the number 2 seed. Still, this tournament again fueled my passion for run speedrunning, as I set 4 new personal bests that same day, achieved the first sub 6 in 100%, swept all of the infinite mode records in Run 1, and set one of my greatest speedruns ever, a deathless Run Trilogy speedrun. When I came back in 2025, I was dead set on finally learning how to mash the spacebar with 6 fingers, which Matthew and other top runners had great success with. I spent over a week honing the technique, finding the perfect gloves, and putting my hands through torture to finally become a top runner again after over 7 years. I badly wanted to have an important world record in Run 2, and on February 10th, 2025, I finally got one. Skater Intense. The next day, I had 3 more, with one of them being Skater Fast. When Matthew organized another Skater Fast tournament in June 2026, I was easily the favorite. I was expected to win. After 6 years of falling flat on my face or being too busy to participate, I finally had my best chance to actually win a Run 2 tournament. Well, the first stage was the seeding round. Seeding was based on the results of 2 group matchups of 3 races each. Each player's slowest and fastest times would be discarded, leaving the median time to determine each seed. Truthfully, I didn't actually know what the seeding rules were going into this, but my plan for the tournament was to go for all strategies except for 1 rotation 14 and rotationless 21, as I believed that I probably had enough of an edge from my mashing to make up for it. And obviously, rotationless 23 was not on the menu either. My first completion was a 156.817, which is crazy to think was the world record back in 2021. For my next run, I had a really bad menu after level 8, so I ended with a 159.617. My final run was a 156.900, which determined my seeding, and was thankfully good enough to place me at number 1. So it was me versus Deadman Walk in round 1. With Deadman Walk having a PB over 3 seconds slower than mine, I felt pretty comfortable in this matchup. I decided not to be deafened in the voice call throughout the tournament to reduce nerves, better simulate an in-person speedrunning competition, and to get feedback from the commentary on how my opponent was doing without having to look over, which is tough in a game with almost zero downtime. After hearing that I was around 8 seconds ahead,
Max deathless right now, going for 23. He tried to go for record, didn't get it.
I went for rotationless 23 for swag, but didn't get it.
And Deadman Walk slowly getting better. So, GG, both of you.
There we go. See, that's what I need.
And yeah, Maximum just getting
Okay.
Max just getting 23 right off the dot. Deadman Walk practice, whatever level
What
you'd
tournament?
like.
This is just world record practice as well.
After getting another comfortable lead in Game 2, I decided to turn this race into an actual world record attempt.
One rotation, 14 for Max.
Entering level 23, I was tied to the frame with Matthew's Skater Fast world record.
Oh, it froze. Oh, he doesn't quite get it. I couldn't see his 22 exit to see if it was world record pace or not.
It wasn't meant to be, but beating my first rotationless 23 record with a death in a tournament match was still pretty crazy. I didn't build enough of a lead to go for the record in Game 3, but I still notched another comfortable win and advanced to the quarterfinals. However, while waiting for my next match, I decided to do some more world record attempts while the iron was still hot, and I notched a PB of 155.717. With wind in my sails, I squared up against Yak27. Yak27 is a skilled flash game speedrunner who set the first sub 250 in Red Ball and made a name for himself on the Run 2 scene. His PB was less than a second slower than mine, and I knew that I did not have room to mess around. I comfortably took Game 1 due to Yak dying in level 7, and in Game 2, Yak did have a chance to catch up by hitting rotationless 23, but he missed it. Still undefeated going into Game 3, I was confident that I had this one in the bag. Without much of a lead, I did 2 rotation 14 to take things safe, which handed Yak the lead. I kept playing well, but Yak was on fire. We both got rotationless 21, and we were neck and neck until the very end.
Who is it going to be? It's going to be Yak27 with a 156.4!
Come on, Yak!
The
Oh my god!
This is
Oh my
two
god!
156s.
Had I done 1 rotation 14 and rotationless 23, my menuing and movement were good enough for world record, but it still wasn't enough to win this race. Yak27 notched a personal best, and I now knew that safe strategies weren't going to be enough to get me through this tournament. Now feeling the pressure in Game 4, I knew that I had to lock in.
Maximum with a 156.417. Yak with a 156.8.
Another double 156, but mine was faster this time. I moved on to the semifinals, and my next opponent was Cubic. Cubic was a formidable opponent, having won the Skater Fast tournament in 2024 that I had absolutely bombed. In Game 1, Cubic had a bad menu in level 4, so I had enough of a lead to avoid needing 14. Then, Cubic took a death going for it, meaning that I didn't need 21 either. In Game 2, it was my turn to screw up level 4. I did my best to catch back up, but even if I had hit rotationless 23, it wouldn't have been enough. 1 game apiece. In Game 3, I heard from the commentary that I had a 0.3 lead, which meant 2 rotation 14 should have been good enough.
Oh, and Cubic did 1 rotation. It looks like Maximum only did 2. So now it's close. Oh, and Cubic is now ahead by 2 frames.
Oh my.
Oh, but now Max is caught up. 3 frames ahead now. They both do rotationless 21. I don't know. It's all down to menus at this point. But it looks like Maximum is building up a lead right now. Going into level 25, Maximum's got a 0.2 second lead. And finishing off, Maximum with a 156.483. Cubic with a 156.8.
Now, Game 4 was pretty weird. Feeling confident in my menuing, I took 14 safe, even though I didn't have much of a lead. However, after hearing this a few levels later,
Oh, Cubic now has a 0.3 lead.
I realized I had messed up. Cubic must have been getting some insane menus. However, I still had a chance with an optimal ending.
All right, yep, 0.4 lead for Cubic still. Maximum doesn't go for 23. Maximum with 156.7. Cubic with a 156.5. Cubic wins race number 4.
If I had just done one rotation 14, I would have won. I made the same mistake that I did against Yak. However, my instincts weren't as faulty as they appeared in this moment. You see, Run 2's physics are based on real time instead of using a consistent time step. And since Flash Player does not perfectly render each frame at the intended time, it makes the game completely non-deterministic. Now, the in-game timer mod advances on each rendered frame, which is usually completely fine. However, if Flash Player lags enough to the point where it is no longer able to catch back up to the intended average frame rate of 60 frames per second, it is forced to skip rendering some frames. Thus, the in-game timer can report a time faster than it should, and this is why all runs on the leaderboard are still frame counted to determine their true final time. However, this is rare, and can essentially only happen on really old computers and laptops that aren't plugged in. Oh, Cubic actually got a 157.3 this race, and I should have won the match 3-1. However, nobody noticed the issue at the time, and the match moved to a decider. I wasn't going to let taking it safe lose me another race, so I did one rotation 14, even though I had a decent lead. 23. They don't do 23.
He doesn't go for it.
Oh, he does on the last jump. And Maximum might have it. Maximum with a 156.3. With a 156.3.
This loss sent Cubic to face off against Yak27 in the losers finals, where he notched an exciting 3-2 victory, where timer issues thankfully didn't change the outcome of any races. That meant the grand finals would be me versus Cubic again, and given that Cubic would need to win 2 matches against me in a row to win it all, my nerves disappeared, and I felt confident going for 14 and 21.
Oh, what the heck? Cubic dies on 14. Oh my god. 156.8 for Max. He is up 1-0. Both doing one rotation. Cubic clipping, so Max's lead increases. Max does rotationless 21, so does Cubic. Good move from Max. Maximum with a 156.2. Cubic 156.6. What are we talking about? Maximum 1 race away from the sweep. Cubic needs to pull off this reverse sweep to reset this bracket. Max bonks. Cubic's ahead by 3 frames. What's going to happen here? Who wins? And it's going to be Cubic with the 157.2 by 4 freaking frames.
So you may suspect that I actually had the faster time in Game 3, and you'd be correct. So I just had to put him away in Game 4.
The 2 best runners in this tourney are facing each other once again, and neither one is letting up. It's all down to menus at this point.
No!
Cubic down on 12.
Oh my goodness.
A death from Max is the only way Cubic could possibly make a comeback. 1 level left. Will this be it? And Maximum wins with the 157.1. Cubic.
Oh my.
Cubic. Worthy opponent.
Overall, this is one of the most enjoyable speedrunning events I have ever participated in, and I am extremely proud of how I performed. Removing any time I wasted attempting rotationless 23, 13 out of 19 of my completions were 156s, and my average time was a 156.961, which beats the 10th best singular run on the leaderboard. As usual, this tournament briefly reignited my passion for speedrunning this game, and I promptly swept all 9 of the any % skater levels records and the 3 skater double jump records for the runner levels. I also claimed the runner intense record before hanging up the cleats again. It's hard to say when I will get the Run 2 speedrunning bug again, but no matter what, I will remain the champion of the 2026 Run 2 Summer Showdown, 6 years in the making.